So I'll do the presentation like this, and then I'll share my screen for the demos, because it does seem to work a little bit better that way around. Oh, so tell me when we are all ready to go.
We're on time, so whenever you're ready, you can start.
Well, let's start. Sounds like a perfect time. So welcome everybody to session number 2 of GroupBy 2021. Still weird, I still keep saying 2020. I don't know where the years have gone. Hopefully you're going to be listening, you're expecting to listen to Jupyter Notebooks, PowerShell and Excel automation. So an awful lot to get through. Please feel free, ask questions. Quite happy to answer questions and get distracted. It's always fun. So now we'll play the game of will my clicker click. Yes, excellent. So please remember the code of conduct. Code of conduct is very important. We really must take care of each other. This is a community after all, and as part of the community, I feel very strongly that anything in this harassment world should not be allowed. And if anybody is feeling that they don't want to speak out in public, feel free to send me a DM and I will happily make sure the right people get to know and keep things quiet if need be. So who am I? My name is Rob Sewell. In fact, here I am. And my pronouns are he and him. I am a consultant doing things with generally these days with automating the creation of infrastructure. I am a dual MVP, so both cloud and data center management, so sort of PowerShell, and data platform, so this world here. And I'm really lucky because I get to live with two great communities. You can get in touch with me. The best way of getting in touch with me is on Twitter, SQLDBA with beard. Please make sure you don't use SQLDBA with a beard, because that doesn't exist. Unfortunately, when I tried to make it, I became SQLDBA with a bear, which I kept because it's cool. And this is our world these days, working in an office. That's where my SQL instance is. Now, it's interesting because in Anna's keynote, she was talking about Azure Arc and how you can create your data services. And Jess has just been showing how you can create an MI and it takes 6 hours or 2 hours to create. Well, today's demos are going to be done on those 3 boxes over there, which are running Kubernetes cluster and have Azure Arc enabled data services with my own SQL managed instance, all for me, sat here in my office. Look, really am here. As I said, feel free, ask me questions anytime you wish. Always happy to have questions. You can find all of my slides at that link, and all of the notebooks that I've created are there. Make sure you use a capital N. For some reason, my short-L creator won't let me have a small n in notebooks. So pop quiz, throw it in Slack, throw it in the chat. Where the most data used in organizations? What do we think? Where do we most have our data? Finance. Yeah, finance is good. Finance, they're key people for putting it in this particular program. We don't keep our data in databases much as we would love to. Our users keep our data in Excel. Of course they do. They love Excel. And that's what this demonstration is about. So according to Microsoft, more than 1.2 billion people use Office. That's like 16% of the world's population. It's just, every time I see this slide, it blows my mind. I can't imagine how many people that is who all use Excel. I do know how important it is. I love Excel. I've loved Excel for a long time. I've loved automating things and putting them into Excel. I was doing it many years ago, checking agent jobs, sorting out VLF settings, color coding Excel with PowerShell. And the problem was that when I had to do that, I had to create a COM object, and then I had to iterate through all the properties and find the methods and add things in the right way, and it was an absolute pain. So I absolutely agree with what this person says. Anybody who wants to work with Excel and automate it should give thanks to Doug Fink, who created the ImportExcel module. Absolutely amazing. It has made everything so much easier. And I truly believe that PowerShell should be about making things easier for people. We're also going to talk about Jupyter, another one of my loves. So we've got Jupyter, we've got PowerShell, we've got ImportExcel, we've got Azure Arc-enabled data services, we've got SQL MI, we've got a whole load of fun stuff to play with. So let's start off with what is a Jupyter Notebook? So Jupyter Notebooks were created for data scientists, and data scientists use them. Honestly, I don't really know quite what they use them for. They do things with. Oh, look at that! Wonderful! I love computers. Let's try that again. They do things with Python and with R. This is Terry and Simon, two of my friends from the UK, and they're big users of Jupyter Notebooks. I use Jupyter Notebooks all the time. I'm not a data scientist. I don't do predictions and models and Python and R, data science. None of that is anything in my world. So why do I use Jupyter Notebooks? Let's go back in time. Let's go back a long time. So we'll go back a decade and a half. When the beard wasn't so grey. And you see, Houston, we've had a problem because we've been running queries. And a decade and a half ago, we were running queries in these black or sort of beigey boxes, writing our queries, getting our results out. Out they were coming in text on our screens. The same problem even in SQL Server Management Studio. We run our queries, we get our results, and it's fantastic. Azure Data Studio, so awesome. It means you can have dark mode, works cross-platform, the latest and greatest based on Visual Studio Code. Still has the same problem. And this, for me, has always been the #1 reason why I think the Jupyter Notebooks are good for everybody. Because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, because it's always 3 o'clock in the morning, and the pager goes off, and #1 most important system is down. It turns out it's something to do with the bike factory that we support. And we wake up, stumble into the office, try not to wake the rest of the house, try and log on to our laptop and get the password wrong, and oh, I wish I had some more coffee. And we get everything and we start working our way through what is our problem. And when we look at our instance and we run some queries, maybe we see that our chain ring has come out as CR78. And CR78 is related to a change that was made earlier in the day. And after some working around, we finally fixed the problem. Everybody's happy. Products are being sold again. Money's coming in. We can go back to sleep. We get up the next morning and we go to one of those meetings that we have after these sort of incidents, a wash-up meeting. And in that wash-up meeting, we have a discussion with our colleagues, and the colleague says, well, look, are you sure it was CR78? Because when we had this a couple of weeks ago, I'm sure it was CR80, and then we had this other problem as well. And you say, yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. It definitely was that. You see, if I go and look back in my Azure Data Studio, oh no, I've hit the cross. And the problem is, once I've hit the cross, then all of my results, well, they're just gone. They're all gone. We have no way of getting them back. I cannot prove to my colleagues that that is definitely what I saw at 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course, I could be using screenshots and taking those and putting them into OneNote and things, and absolutely, that's what I used to do. But Jupyter Notebooks is the best reason that I've found to resolve this problem. So what is a Jupyter Notebook? Well, it's a document. Good. It can contain text, well, obviously, and images, of course, code, but executable code. And even better, the query results. How amazing is that? So I'm going to say that you definitely should use Azure Data Studio to work with notebooks. And yet my demo is going to be completely in Visual Studio Code. There's a good reason for that, which we'll come to in a minute. Azure Data Studio does notebooks stupendously well. It does some amazing things. And what I would like to be able to show you is all of those amazing things, but I just don't have enough time. But later in this, at the end of these slides, there's a link to some YouTube presentations that I've done where you can go and see all of those amazing things that Azure Data Studio does. So I definitely recommend you go and have a look at those and see how you can use notebooks within Azure Data Studio. Azure Data Studio looks just like Visual Studio Code will. Well, it does, because this one's Azure Data Studio and that one's Visual Studio Code. What's the difference? Well, Visual Studio Code has got debugging. Azure Data Studio doesn't. Azure Data Studio got some overlays, got some ability to have some extra colors for things, a little bit more fancy with some of the things that it's got. Other than that, they're identical. So all the shortcuts, all the settings, many of the extensions, you're all going to be able to use the same things within Visual Studio Code and Azure Data Studio. Just to make life confusing, as well as the notebooks that we've got notebooks that work in Python. We've got .NET notebooks that work in Python in Azure Data Studio. We've also got .NET interactive notebooks. So the .NET interactive team have created notebooks. They saw how good this was. And .NET interactive notebooks, they've got all of the goodness of those other Jupyter notebooks, but they've also got PowerShell Core and C# and F# and HTML and JavaScript and T-SQL. Excellent, so much better. So I'm going to show you how you get .NET interactive notebooks, where it's like this. You need to go and download the SDK from this link. If you are like me and you like to play and install and have new things running, you may need to do an uninstall and repair. Your mileage may indeed vary. But once you've done that, you can go to your Visual Studio Code and you can install the .NET Interactive Notebooks extension. Then we use Control-Shift and P. Control-Shift and P, or Command-Shift and P if you're on a Mac, is the most important shortcut to know in Azure Data Studio and the Visual Studio Code, because it brings up the command palette, which enables you to type and search and get the most recent commands. Really useful. So we'll open that up and we'll say, let's create a new blank .NET Interactive notebook. And then it looks like this. That's what you're going to get. And you'll see that up at the top there, it says C# because that's the default language for that block. And down here, or is it down there? Down there, it'll be there, down there, where it says it's a .NET C# notebook. So we click on this .NET because we want to change our notebook kernel, and we're going to choose the .NET Interactive, the one right at the bottom of the screen. That's going to be our kernel. That's notebook terms for the language that the notebook is running. Now, even though it still says C#, it's got .NET Interactive. And we can see that down at the bottom, it says, I've got a .NET Interactive notebook running. So now I can choose a SQL.NET Interactive code block. And I can say select star from sys.databases. And it says, SQL connection has not been established. It gives you everything that you need to do. So you need to run a C# block and install this NuGet package. So SQL with some results telling you what to do, really useful, helps you to move forward, gives you everything you need to be able to move straight within the notebook. And it's a C# block. So in .NET Interactive Notebooks, and only in .NET Interactive Notebooks, you can have a code block for whichever language you wish to write your code in. So if you want to write PowerShell and C# and F# with a bit of HTML, some JavaScript and SQL, all in the same document, you can do that. So we've installed this package to get our .NET Interactive SQL Server ready for us to work. And then we add in a connection string. So we say #bang connect MS SQL. There's some magic commands. They're literally called magic. That's not me exaggerating. And then we say --kernel-name, and we give it a name of something that we understand. So we're going to say bid desktop master in this case, and then just a connection string. So it's the local host and it's the master database. And now at the top of my SQL.interactive block, I can say #bang SQL dash whatever name I've given for that connection. And run my query, and I get my results out. And I get them out in a nice visualization. So I can, if you look on the right, I can do all sorts of things with this data. Of course, this is just the database name, so there's nothing really that we can do to make it look any prettier. So these are notebooks. And notebooks enable you to do so many things. So I've already talked about incident response, about how you can use them to record what it is that you did, including the results. It's something that I do almost instinctively now. When I'm at a client and they say, could you look at this thing which is broken? I'll open a notebook because I can start querying what's going on. I can write my notes in amongst it. If I'm using Azure Data Studio, I can even magically copy and paste screenshots or OneNote or all sorts of things straight into the notebook and create that record of what it is that I've done. But that's not all. How much easier would it be at 3 o'clock in the morning if I had a set script that I could run through? A notebook with the commands and the connections and what to do if you get these results all set up ready for me. It'd be so much easier. Could use runbooks, things we do all the time. Introducing our environment to new starters. It's even harder now we're all working remotely. But if we can have a repository of notebooks that we can give to our new starters and say, hey, have a look at this. When you've got some downtime, go and work through. It'll connect you to our Azure, to our database, to our central management server. You can see our naming conventions. You can start to gather some information and understand what it is that we do. For showing off to our boss, look at this great thing that I've done. Look how much I've improved this query. Please give me some more money. Or our teammates, here's something we can do that will make life easier for ourselves. Clients, Here is this new thing that we're doing. What do you think? Or how about clients, please run this notebook and send it back to us. And it will gather all the information that we need to be able to help troubleshoot your problem. Really useful way, saves having to work with time zones and getting WebEx in the right place and getting authentication and approval for allowing these things to happen, and looking over somebody's screen over their shoulder in effect whilst they go through and do something. Just give them a notebook and they can run it through. Really, space is your limit. Go as far as your mind will take you. So here's what they do in Microsoft. So Julie from the tools team kindly gave me permission to use this slide. And what happens is this. An incident happens. Maybe somebody phoned up. Maybe a system alerted. But it was recorded within the incident response system. And of course, somebody got notified and they have to take some action. They need to find out what the problem is and they need to fix it, investigate and mitigate. So they go to the troubleshooting notebook repository and they get a notebook that fits what it sounds like that problem was, and they start to work their way through. The notebook is their audit trail that they can put back into the incident response system, associate with that incident. This is what we did to fix it. When they finished, any sort of post-mortem activity can include that notebook. Well, this is what we did. This is how we fixed it. But also then it becomes, well, how can we make this better? So we can go and rate this notebook. We can update it and push the updates and the improvements back into the repository. If we don't have a notebook that's available for our particular problem, well, that's okay. We'll create a new notebook. We'll start working through our investigation and then hopefully to our mitigation and put that all in the notebook. And then we can use that in our postmortem. And then we probably need to do a little bit more work. We need to make this notebook reusable. We probably need to improve the grammar and the spelling if you're anything like me. And then we can push that back into the troubleshooting notebook repository, and then it's ready for our colleagues whenever they come through. And hopefully we can automate as much as possible. So there's the link to my YouTube list of presentations about Jupyter Notebooks in Azure Data Studio. So it's going to show you all sorts of the cool things that it does. And even though the presentations are pretty much the same, the demos generally are much different. Because I say to people, just ask me a question. What should we do? Let's go and find something. I know it's time for a demo, but maybe you're wondering quite how this works. So there's a short link to the blog post I wrote. It's just a bit of PowerShell, no surprise. As PowerPoint, of course, for giving the slides, and Streamlabs Ops, because that's the streaming software that I use that enables me to push this through into my webcam feed so that you can see it and I can appear in my slides. The link to the blog post also has a link to Scott Hanselman's post where he does the same thing, but he uses Ops Studio, which a lot of people use for recording and streaming, and he uses a C# application to do basically the same sort of thing. But if there are any questions, I'll answer some of those now, but then we'll do a demo. So let's do this bit. Why are you so black? There we go. We will change the video back to myself, like so, and we will share a screen. We'll share that screen. And I'll just check the questions and see what we've got. Oh, you see a blank circle in the slides? Yeah, sometimes that happens. Maybe it's just me. Okay, screen share is all good. No questions. Please feel free to shout if you have questions. So before we start, I showed you a picture of my lab. Let's just make sure that everything is up and running. So we're just going to run a notebook. And this notebook is going to ensure everything's ready. So I'm going to check all of my hosts in my Kubernetes cluster up and running. It's going to check that all of the containers are running and ready and that my SQL instance is connectable. And in 7 seconds, 8 seconds, it's done 75 tests. Excellent. So hopefully my demo will be good. In my GitHub, at my presentations repo, you can find all of this code. This code includes the SQL managed instance creation with Project Bicep. It includes the code that I use to create my managed instance. So I did a what if to see what was happening, what would happen, and then I deployed it and I made sure that everything is okay. So if our demo is okay and we don't see any chat, if you go to the presentations, you can download it yourself. Let's do beard. Media/presentations. Let's send it to everybody. There we go, Yossi. If you go there, you can grab the slides, you can see the code, everything will be there ready for you. So this, as we can see, oh dear, as we would see if we had Zoom it working. Let's try that again. So this, as you can see down here, oh, it's right on the edge of the screen, and I click off. Let's go down to there. There we go. So it's a .NET interactive notebook, and we are running pretty much all PowerShell. I put this code in to enable you to get the ImportExcel module and the DBA tools module, because I'm going to use that as well. No surprise, people. So let's have a look at the commands that we have available to us within our ImportExcel module. If we run that, you can see we've got new Excel chart, we've got add pivot table, add worksheet. There's a lot of things here. Where else have we got? Join worksheet, we've got merge worksheet, we have a new pivot table definition. Pie chart, very important for me. A lot of things that you can do to automate your Excel with PowerShell. And it works cross-platform, and it works on servers. You don't have to have Office installed at all. All you need is this module, and you can create, interact with your Excel sheets, easy as pie. So first thing we'll do is we'll create a connection. So when we're working with DBA tools, I recommend that you use this method. We'll sometimes need to do refreshes, but we will connect our DBA instance, and then we will use this connection with all of our DBA tools commands. So that's what this is doing here. This default parameter value says every time that you see a command that has star DBA star in it, and I would like you to make the parameter for SQL instance equal to SQL, which is this connect DBA instance here. So we'll run that. As you see, we got a little green tick at the bottom. Now that means I can get my logins. I don't need to keep repeating -SQL instance. So let me get the logins on my SQL instance running in my Kubernetes cluster. So you can see that we've got Ben Starker -0, that's the name of my instance. And then we've got some famous names, Andre Kaman, Andrew Levy, Andrew Prusky, the wonderful man. We've got a whole load of logins available to us on this instance. And of course, what your user will want is, could you get me the list of logins and put them into Excel, please? So what we would have done is grab those with T-SQL or with PowerShell or whatever, and maybe we would have put it into clipboard. We could use set-clipboard in PowerShell. We could just copy from Management Studio and paste it into Excel. But now we're just going to use this pipe symbol in PowerShell. And that says everything that happens on the left, the results of those, the output of that, please pass it down the pipeline and give it to the next command. And the next command says ImportExcel. And I'd like you to take those results and put them into this file. And then the next thing we do is we open the file. So let's run that. It takes 0.6 of a second, and there we go. We've got our logins saved in an Excel worksheet straight away. So you can see we've got everything that we need. We've got all of the information returned. Well, it's not brilliant, is it? Because, you know, really what we want is we want our columns auto-size. That'd be the first thing that we do. So we use this auto-size parameter. Everything else is the same. And this time when we run it, it's going to, oh, look at that. It looks a little better. We've got our columns auto-sized. Maybe we could go and filter by the name. We could filter, oh, of course, it's not table. We haven't got that filter capability. So we're going to add auto filter to our command that we run. So we run that, and this time much better. Now we can go through here. We can find the names, which are always over here somewhere, and you know, maybe we can look for Andrew Prisky and who else? William Durkin, definitely William Durkin. Oh, we've got our capability of filtering in our Excel sheet. Super easy, just in one line of code with 2 parameters. Okay, that's good. But now we don't want to have sheet 1. You know, let's add this and make it look a bit better. So we've got get DBA login, get me all the logins from my instance, pass those results down to ImportExcel, save them in this path as an Excel file. I'll have my auto size, I'll have my auto filter. I'm going to have a title of the logins. I'm going to use the worksheet name. I'll call that logins. And this time I'm going to use this parameter show. So instead of starting the process, invoking the item, I'm just going to say, when you're finished, open the Excel sheet, please. So press play, and again, 0.2 a second, and up it comes, and you can see, oh, hang on a minute. You can see that we've still got sheet 1. We've also got logins, but we've got sheet 1. So what's happened here? If we look in our logins worksheet, it's got a title up at the top like we'd asked. Everything else is the same. So what's happened here? If we look, we've used the same name for our Excel file so far throughout the notebook. And this time, all the times before, it's just replaced what was in there in sheet 1. This time we've said, actually, what I'd like you to do is in this file, I'd like you to put these results in a worksheet called login. So it's gone, okay, I'll create you a worksheet called logins and I'll add all of these results in, just like we asked it to. It wasn't quite what we meant. So let's improve that. And also let's use some splatting. Splatting is not only a word that makes me giggle because it's slightly funny, it enables you to see what parameters you're passing to your PowerShell command in a list. So it makes it much easier to see. You can see as we got here, we were beginning to get off of the end of our line. It was going to be difficult to see what was happening. Now we have everything just in a list. So we go our path, we're going to auto size, auto filter, we'll have a title of the logins, a worksheet name of logins. I'm going to add this move to start parameter. So this worksheet, I want to be at the front. So you can see how you can begin to build up what it is that you want to do when you automate your Excel sheet. Just to make sure that I'm not conning you in any way, I'm going to change the title background to yellow because there's something else we can do, add a background color. And I'm going to freeze the top row because then we can do that scrolling thing and everything stays up at the top. And then we'll do our show. So we'll run that, still takes 0.2 of a second. And there we go. Now we have sheet 1 still there. But now we've got logins. It's moved to the front. We've got our logins title at the top. And now we can scroll through. It's done what we asked. It's frozen the top pane. Just again, maybe not quite what it was that we wanted it to do. So that's really cool. Anything that we can gather with PowerShell. So I'm showing you logins on a SQL instance, but it could easily be your Azure resources. It could easily be your databases. It could be the results of a query. It could be anything that you collect with PowerShell. We can just pass down the pipeline and push it into our Excel sheet. So we had our freeze top row, but not freeze the top row, but we didn't actually want that. We actually wanted to freeze the top 2 rows. And we didn't want to freeze any columns. We just wanted to freeze the top 2 rows. So we're going to use this freeze pane parameter. And it takes an array, XY. So we want to go, it's actually YX, XY. We want to go 3 down and 0 across. So no columns across. And we want to freeze on the 3rd row, please. We're going to make the title background dark gray. We've got our move to start. We're going to call it services this time because actually what we're going to do is we're going to get the services from our machine. And you can see we can dynamically add information into our title. So services on the computer name, whichever computer we're running on. So grab those services. And before I show you that, I'm going to start that one running because it takes just a moment to run. And now we can see we've got services on the desktop. This is the machine that we're running on, automatically populated. And we've got it, background is gray, doesn't quite work, but we've got all of our information about our services in our Excel worksheet, and we've frozen the top 2 rows. Excellent. So we do processes. So you can see, for some reason, I get the odd few warnings from my processes. It takes a minute or 3 to run, but this is going to do exactly the same thing. So we've got a different workbook. We've got the processes that we've got on. We're going to call the worksheet name processes, and we've got our freeze pane. So you can see you can start to use this when you're investigating an issue. You know, you quite often want to go and gather all of this information. Quite often doesn't take 60 seconds to run. It's taking about 50, but obviously when we're running a presentation and we've got Zoom running as well, obviously it's working a little bit harder, poor little machine. It's going to take a moment or 3 to run, so I'm going to check the questions. There aren't any questions. Whoa. Well, we'll see how much. I'll give it 3 more seconds. I'll have a drink, and then if need be, we will move forward. I obviously have a lot more processes running now than I did before. Let's stop that. So it does take a long time. But you see, our notebook says that our execution was cancelled by ourselves. So we do the same with event logs. So again, I'm thinking about investigation here. So, thank you. So it finally did the processes. We'll send those away. We'll do event logs, but this time I'm not just going to grab the information from one event log because I want system and application. So what we're going to do is got our path, our auto size, our filter, our title, move to start. All of that is the same. I'm going to use get win event for the system or the application log, and I'm just going to grab the last 100. But the first time I run this, I'm going to say, give me the worksheet name system. And the second time I want the application, and then I'm going to call the show. I remember what I said before, how it will add a worksheet onto the workbook that I've already got open if that's what we provide. Well, that's what it's going to do this time. So because we've got move to the start equal to true. The second thing that ran, application, that one's been moved to the front. And then system log is also there. So we've now got all of that information straight into Excel so we can filter it or use it or share it, save it. We do the same thing with our SQL error logs. No difference. We're just using get-dba error log. Instead, we'll export it straight out to Excel. And you can see it's just a SQL error log on a managed instance with some interesting things that we get because we're running this managed instance in a cluster. So let's go back and have a look at some of those because they might be interesting. But realistically, if we've got a problem, we don't want to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 workbooks. We really want to run everything all at once. So in 4.8 seconds, we've got our services. We didn't get the processes because that takes forever. We've got the Windows event logs for system and application, and we've got our error logs. And we've put them all into this workbook, application, processes, services, and it's called incidents or XLS. Obviously, we could make that name more dynamic so it puts the date or something in it. But actually, it'd be better if we had some information on the front worksheet. So let's now start to really build up what it is that we're doing within our Excel worksheet. So I'm going to pick up a SQL instance. Like I said, we can format our date. So we're going to use get-date, format it, year, month, date. I'm going to pick this directory. This is where I'm going to store everything. And then I can have an Excel file. It's going to be, the path is going to be the directory and the date and incident for and the name of the instance. Now, this means that I could give this as a workbook, as a notebook for somebody to run and say, all you need to do is change the value of the SQL instance here. And then you can just run it against any instance and it'll be dynamically created. If you do that, remember that for DBA tools, you'll need to provide the instance name. So if you've got non-default instance names or you've got non-default ports, you'll need to provide those there for your instance name so that you can do your connections with DBA tools to get the information, but they're not going to work as a file name. So if you have those sort of things, you need to either think about how you will pass this information to remove the slashes and the commas, or ask people to put information in twice. Passing is better than making people put things in twice, but make a choice. And then we're going to export Excel. So we're going to give a path to our Excel file, got auto size, auto filter, move to start, and freeze top row. The same thing as you've seen already. So we're going to get all of our information, our services, our processes, Windows events logs, and a SQL error log. I'm going to pass those into new worksheets. And then once it's finished doing that, instead of opening it, I'm going to use this command ImportExcel package. And what ImportExcel package does is it takes an Excel file that is on disk and pulls it into memory so that you can start to work with it. So we pass in the path of our file that we've got, and then we use the add worksheet command. Guess what? Adds a worksheet. So we're going to add it to our package, and I'm going to call it title. We definitely want it to be at the front, so we're going to move to start. And then I pipe to out-null because we don't need to show any information about this. This command provides some output, and we don't really need that output, so we can just pipe to out-null. Now I can start to build up what I want in my, on my title worksheet. So if I say my title worksheet is my Excel package, .workbook, .worksheets, and it's the one called title. And then I grab my date and transfer it to a long date string. And then I say in the cells, A1, D2, H3, all of these, I want the value equal to this. Now, you can also add background colors or font sizes or anything else. They're all available as properties of this cells object. But you can also do things like this with ImportExcel module. So we can use the set Excel range command and say, get me the title worksheet, which we've got up at the top here. And in the range A1, I'd like you to make it bold. I want to have a font size of 22. I'd like you to underline it. No, don't just underline it, double underlining it for the win. And if we look at the parameters, you can see we've got a whole load of other things. So how did I get that to work? This is within a notebook. You do the same sort of thing in Azure Data Studio or Visual Studio Code. What I did is I typed a dash for a parameter and then pressed Control and space. And that gave me through a list of all of the parameters that I've got. So you see we've got auto size, we've got background colors and patterns, we've got where we want our borders, we've got some formulas, we've got italics, we've got merge, we've got all of these things that we can add in. Once I finished that, I finished working with my Excel package. Remember, we got all our information and we pushed it onto disk. And then we've opened the package into memory. We've added a new worksheet and we've put some information into it. Now I need to use this close Excel package, basically save everything to disk, please. And here's another trick that I learned running notebooks or writing notebooks for other people to run, is that if your block doesn't give any output, then give your users some output. So I haven't really done that earlier up at the beginning, because this is the point where it makes most sense. Because when the block takes a little bit of time to run, and if this is going off and gathering all of this information and building this worksheet and doing things, actually people don't know whether it's still running or not. So maybe just use a write output at the beginning. So I'm starting, wait until I say I've finished. And then at the end, put something that says I've finished, all's good. And then your users know that, oh, if I press play and I see it spinning, then that's cool. We can just carry on. And then once we finish, we're going to open this Excel sheet. So let's press go. It's going to do all of those things. 4.9 seconds, and now we have our workbook. We've got our title worksheet, dynamically created the date, dynamically added in which machine which instance we're connecting to, tells the user what it's about. So we could add in more information here as we needed to. And then the rest is pretty much as you saw before. So we've got each one of our information gathering, and we've frozen the top pane so that we can do it, and everything is filterable so we can see, oh, hang on, let's see what MS SQL Dave is. Yeah, there we go. It's a SQL service. Excellent. So I've got a question. The question says, is there any possibility to have the Excel file emailed instead of saved to the local machine? So for it to be able to be emailed, it has to exist in some place. So you definitely need to have access to the local machine's file system to be able to save it there. Once it's saved there, of course, you can use PowerShell to then grab it and use send mail message to email it through. There are obviously the complications of making sure you're authenticating to your mail server and that everything is approved and allowed and within your organization to deal with. But as a concept, absolutely. As long as you have to save it to a file system somewhere. And once it's on the file system, we've got PowerShell. We can do anything. So we can definitely automate that. Sam G says, can you do formulas? And I think it was Jess that said that there are good questions. Those are the ones that we can answer. And there are great questions, which are the ones about things that come up later. So that's a great question. And we will come up to it later. Oh, Tony. Tony's got a great question. And let's change that. Tony's got a fantastic question. It doesn't fit in the good or great rules. It's a fantastic question because what is the best way to schedule the notebook to run every night? So what I'm going to do is say, Emmanuel, don't type answer for that yet. We'll leave that there to remind me. If I've got time at the end, I'll show that. If not, go and have a look at my videos. But it's a cool thing. We'll see what we can do. Let's move on with Excel. And Excel says, well, users quite often say, can you put that into a pivot table, please? Oh, yeah, okay then. So let's go and get some information from our regular bike factory, AdventureWorks, and we're going to get these results are going to be, no, we're still talking about it. We're going to invoke DBA query from AdventureWorks, and we're just going to grab the top 25,000 name, date, and quantity. And then we'll take those results and we'll just do export Excel. So we'll just push them straight in and see what happens. And what happens is this. So it's a pain. The first time I did this, I was like, whoa, where's all that information come from? So name, order date, order quantity. That's the information that we want. And we've also got row error, row state, table, item array, has errors, these things. And the reason for that is because we've retrieved from SQL Server our results of our query. And they've been provided to us as a data table, so a .NET object. And the .NET object has these other properties. Now, we don't see them when we work with them in the command line, or if we're doing other things, we don't notice them. But they get passed through to ImportExcel, and it goes, yeah, sure, here you go. Woof, here's all of this information. So there's a couple of ways of dealing with this. This is the way that I've shown you in this notebook. The other way would be to remove the columns after you've got the Excel. Either way works. There's no real reason to choose one or the other. Probably removing the columns will be quicker for larger data sets, but yeah, your mileage might vary. So what we're going to do is, instead of making our results just the results of the query, this time we're going to say, well, select all of the information. Let's come in there like that. Select all of the information from my results, but exclude the properties, item array, row error, row state, table, has errors, because we don't want those, please. So that's one way of doing it. Now, the problem with that is SQL gives us 25,000 rows. We then pass those 25,000 rows down to PowerShell, down the pipeline, and we say, right, give me everything except these properties. And what PowerShell is doing in the background is going, right, this one, except that one, add. Hang on, this one, except those properties, add another. This one, except those ones, add another one. Except it's not even doing that, because technically what it's doing is go this one without those properties, create a thing. Now I need to add a new thing. So create me a new thing, copy that one in, and select all of that. So you can see it's quite an intensive process. We don't see it. It doesn't take very long. How long does it take to do that? 3.4 seconds. Now, interestingly, with 25,000 rows of this size of data, 3.4 seconds to not do it, 3.4 seconds to do it. So it's about the same. Larger data sets, you definitely will notice the difference. But now we have, as expected, just the results of our query. So they all just come into our Excel sheet. So we can format that nicely. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3.5 seconds to do the formatting. Got our, what did I do that time? I didn't press the right. Why does that look exactly the same, Rob? Because it's exactly the same, Rob. So this time you can see that we can add in a table. We've given the worksheet a name of a query because I was feeling extremely dynamic that day. For some reason, the auto format doesn't quite work with dates, but I've noticed that in Excel anyway. And you can format your table any color scheme that you wish. Color schemes are done using this table style. And because we've named it table name, that can be available to us or our users within our Excel sheet. Everything else is the same: size, filter, move to start, freeze the top row. Of course, charts are interesting. What am I doing? Charts are interesting as well. That's right. So we're going to grab all of this information. We'll do a bit of grouping, and we're going to create our table. Same way, dark theme. And then we're going to set this dark chart definition. So we're going to have a chart type of column clustered. We need to pick our Y and our X range. So we've got year and total sales. So you've got to be careful to make sure that these match the results of the PowerShell object that you're bringing through, because that will be the title as you pass it through into Excel. Gather our results, exclude all of these properties. Let's run it while we explain it. Oh no, it doesn't take any time at all. Good. Then using this chart definition configuration, we then create a new Excel chart definition. And then, even though we've already exported our results into Excel, we've used this pass-through parameter. So we'll say, take the results, export them to Excel, pass through. Keep them stored in this Excel variable, ready for the next thing that I do. Because the next thing I do is I do another export Excel of our package. This is our package Excel with all of these results in. But I want you to add in the Excel chart definition and give it a worksheet name of beards are awesome, and then show me the file. And then we get our table with our results, and we get our charts, and beards are awesome. Excellent. So that's good. You know, other chart types are available. I only you do this one to wind up the BI people, and because I like donuts. So if you see me, buy me a donut. I'll be ever so grateful. Just don't tell my wife. Thank you. So we can choose whatever chart style we want, and no surprise, we've got to choose a chart type of donut, and we can add in a title. We can add in legend, we can add in all of those sort of informations just by finding the parameters within the command. Pivot tables. Well, pivot tables work exactly the same way. We get all of our information from SQL Server using invoke DBA query. We store it in our results variable. We'll add in a worksheet name of base query, dark table style, create our table, and then add a pass through. And this time, instead of creating a chart definition, we'll create a pivot table definition. So we'll use some configuration. So in our pivot table, we'll give it a name, we'll tell it where our information is. And we need that rows and datas. So we're going to have the data is going to be the quantity of sales. And we want to use sum. Of course, you'd have average and min and max and all of those other ones. And then the rows are going to be the order date, and we'll say name. Export Excel with our pass through, stores it in this Excel variable, create a new pivot table definition, and then we can export. And what I didn't do was, oh, awesome. What I didn't do was open it. So let's open it. There we go. So we've got our base query worksheet, and then we've got our pivots. There we go. So we've got our name, our order date, order quantity. Here is our rows. Here are our values, a sum. And with, it's great because in here you can, what can we do? We'll collapse everything. And now you can, oh no. One of the great things about these is we can add that, oh, where is it? You can add that special magic date. Oh. Problem is, doing it like this, we haven't actually got a date for our chart. So you can go away. If we want to have that magic date pivot table filtering ability, we need to do this. So this time we're going to grab all our information, put it into our Excel sheet, and we're going to create a pivot table parameter, configuration. And it's going to have a data sum, it's going to have the rows, the name, but this time we're going to add these two additional parameters. So group date row, so order date, that's a date, mate. We want that to be a date, okay? And then I'd like to have the date parts, years and months and days. Of course, hours and minutes and seconds are also available. And then the rest of it's the same. And just checking, I did actually put the show onto this one. So we'll press play. And away we'll run. It's going to run, grab that information, and creates us our table. This time we've got our pivot, so we can now do all of the funky things that we like to do. So we can collapse all of that. We can, let's collapse all of this as well. There we go. And now we can collapse that. So we've got a decent pivot table, allows our users to make use of it. And you can see it's added in years and months, days down here at the bottom. No, thank you, don't save. So that's good. How about having charts as well? Pivot charts, we make all of this. We just start automating all of this information, automating the creation of our Excel sheets, passing them through to people. It's no different. Our pivot table looks exactly the same, but we're adding in our pivot table configuration, our pivot chart configuration. So as well as all of the information about the table that we've got, we're also going to say include the pivot chart, please. So I'd like you to include a pivot chart, and I'd like you to call it beardy chart, and we'll have a chart type of column clustered. That's the column chart, and the chart column is 6. So how far along the worksheet where I've got my pivot table would you like me to place the chart? Now, column 6, please. And let that run for a second, and the same thing. Get our results, put them into Excel, export them in with our definition added. So now we've got our base query as a table, we can add our pivots, and lo and behold, there's our chart. So let's collapse to months. Let's not collapse that one to months. You're going to collapse to months, okay? Let's collapse everything. There we go. Boom. Magical pivot chart, dynamically created with PowerShell from our results. Spilling my drink everywhere. That's why I have one of these with a top on. A wise move for people who speak with their hands like I do. So let's move on and look at some questions. I see some questions. If I have a folder with SQL scripts to gather SQL Server information, how would you implement that with your notebook? It depends, is the honest best answer. If you wish to keep the SQL scripts where they are, you could reference them and use invoke DBA query, which you can pass in a file parameter to, which you can go and grab all of the SQL scripts that already exist, put the results into the notebook using PowerShell. Your other option could be to take the contents of those SQL scripts and push them into a T-SQL notebook, either in Azure Data Studio or in a .NET Interactive one like this. You could do that manually. If you've got a lot of scripts, you could do that using the ADS Notebook PowerShell module that I've written, which allows you to dynamically create notebooks. It's designed pretty much exactly for that sort of reason. We go and grab the content of the SQL files with get-content and then create blocks with those contents in the notebooks. Can you add data to the data model to get the option of select distinct in the pivot table aggregate options? I honestly have absolutely no idea, JB. I don't know. We would have to explore that. Perhaps we could. Feel free, throw me a question. remind me of this, we can go and try and find out, or maybe go and have a look at the ImportExcel GitHub repository. That's a good thing to start with, actually. Maybe we'll just do this and say, let's open up the GitHub repository. So we'll go to let's go to GitHub. There we go. And we'll search for ImportExcel. Here is our module. Maybe we can look in issues and search for, let's search for aggregate. See what we get. Nothing open, nothing closed. But go and have a look through there with that. Or you could ask Doug Fink or James O'Neill on Twitter. They are both excellent people to investigate those sort of questions with. So let's talk about doing something even more fun. So if we look in, the reason I've got 2 copies of this notebook open is because it enables me to have run the commands through before. And even if everything had fallen over, I could have shown you what would happen. I could show you the results of my code. My notebook has them all stored ready. So it's another good use case for this. But what we were going to do is have a look at our MI creation. So as well as creating the managed instance, the next thing we did was restore AdventureWorks into it. And there's our restore. Now the database is ready. So I'm going to generate some random logins and users. And also, as well as creating a whole bundle of users, some new databases, I'm going to randomly give users permissions within random databases. So this is so that we can just have a little bit of fun and try and get rid of that top bar. Oh, go away, top bar. Let's try that. There we go. There we go. So one of the things that I wrote a notebook for was I was sat working with a DBA team, doing some infrastructure creation work with Azure DevOps and Terraform. And I noticed they were constantly getting, not constantly, that's unfair. They were frequently getting distracted by a set of users coming and asking them, who has permission to this? Who has permission to that? Who has permission to this? And what they had to do is stop what they were doing, go and get the information, put it into an Excel sheet and send it to the user. And I said, well, do you want me to make that better for you? And they were like, yeah, because it's a real pain. Like, okay, import Excel, get the logins, we can just get the permissions, we'll pass that through. So that's one of the things we did. And then we took it a step further and we went, well, hang on a minute. This user group, which was like the interface between the business and IT, the ones that get all the requests for these things from different auditors within this international corporation, various different requests. Why don't we just give them permission to gather this information out of a database and they can just run a notebook? So that's what they could do. So we would say to them, look, this is the directory it's going to be saved in. This is the name of the, good work, Rob. This is the name of the instance that you need to put in. These are the ones that you put in for X, Y, and Z systems. And then press that play button and an Excel sheet will magically appear for you. And it blew their minds. It changed their world. It was astonishing. But it meant that when they got a request from an auditor saying, how can I have the permissions on this system? They would then have to go and create a request for the IT team to be able to get it. And then they'd create the request and then, as always happens, walk over in the office, stand by, I've sent you an email with a request number, please can you do this? And then the DBA would have to stop what they were doing and go and grab the information and put it into an Excel sheet and put it in an email and send it back to them and go to the incident and close it and etc. Now what happened was they got a request in their system for this information. They opened the notebook, they changed whatever values, they pressed play, an Excel sheet appeared, they sent it off. DBA team happy. these people also happy because they could respond so much quicker. It was super. So I'm going to press play and let it do its thing because, you know, it's got a few logins to get and I need a drink. You can see, if you look at this code, that I'm putting in an instance, and because we're connecting to my Kubernetes cluster, I need to use SQL authentication. And whilst I'm using SQL authentication, come back to here, I store my results, my secrets in the Windows credential store and retrieve them with get-secret. So this is a really useful way I recommend that you use to add and retrieve secrets, so keys and passwords and all of these sort of things that we need these days interacting with the modern data world. Save them with secret management module. You can even, it will even interact with Azure Key Vault. So you can have your own secrets here. So this is my BeardNI admin user, and I can also have secrets that I've got in Azure Key Vault that I use for other things, and have them available to you in code all over. So we grab that information. Here is where I say, when we're creating file names, we obviously need to do some interesting work. So we make sure that we take away the backslashes, we take away the dots, we take away the commas, and then we create ourselves a name for our file. We write out to our users so that they know what's happening. So like, we're processing this thing, so you can wait for a minute. Create a worksheet named permissions. This bit looks pretty much the same. So we get DBA user permission, DBA tools command for grabbing permissions information from your instance. Export Excel, pick a worksheet name, got our auto size. We've got our free top row, auto filter, and a pass through. And then we do something extra. So we talked about adding pivot tables. We've talked about adding pivot charts and charts into our thing, adding more worksheets. Now we're going to add some conditional formatting. So we're going to say, every time we run a conditional formatting, I want to use this config. So this magic is what we need to do to say, this is the address where I want to apply this formatting. We're going to put it into this worksheet name, and the rule type is expression. There are other rules, as you expect within Excel, that you can use. And then I'm going to say, okay, so if you find sysadmin in column G, turn the background color yellow and stop. But don't worry about it if you don't. Don't find it, that's fine, carry on. Which is repeated. And then we say, well, if you find a DB owner, then make it yellow. If we find things to do with server logins, make them green. Securables are going to be blue. Role members are going to be golden. And DB securables are going to be burly wood, which is a cool name. And then when you finish doing that, then close the package. So again, that's all happened in memory. Now we're going to close our package. And then we say, right, there we go. I've finished processing. But then we add ourselves a worksheet title, and then we add more information. So now we're going to say this worksheet. In fact, you know what? Why don't we just have a look at it? Make life much easier. No, I didn't want to. No, I don't want to. I just want to open Excel. There we go. That's what it does. This worksheet shows the user permissions for each database on this instance name at this date. The cells are color-coded as follows. The yellow cells show members of the sysadmin role who have permission to do and access anything. The green cells show the logins on the server. The blue cells show the instant level permissions that have been granted to the logins. The orange cells show database role management. Excellent. You can filter by database on the object column. You can filter by user or group or login on the member column. So we've given everybody, whoever's reading this, whether it's the auditors or whether it's the person who pressed the button or whoever it goes to, we've given them the capability of understanding what's going on. And now we can say, well, that's okay. Let's actually, well, you know what? Let's filtered, it's organized by object. And now we can see that Andre Kamen, Andrew Levy, Andrew Prusky, Argenis Fernandez, Benjamin Weissman twice, and Bob Pusteri are all DB owners on AdventureWorks. For some reason, Ben's also got some additional access. And in fact, a lot of people have got various amounts of access, in fact, a DB owner access to AdventureWorks. And some of these apps have got different accesses. We keep coming down, we've got our bike factory. So Andre Kamen can write, do DDL and security admin on the bike factory. I said it's completely random role creation. It's kind of fun. Benji can do various different things. So it made it easy for us. And this is a bit of fun. It's just there to show a bit of color because makes it easier for people to see what is going on. But this was one actual use case that I gave to people to show how to do this. Nobody needs to worry how all of this works. They just press a button and it goes and it does everything that they need. And then we say, I'm doing my processing. This is where it is. This is where it's finished. So let's go back to the questions. That is all of the demos, taking you all the way through, hopefully giving you a lot of information about how you can use ImportExcel, what each of the parameters does, and how you can build up your own automation of Excel with PowerShell. So what is the name of the secret management module that you've imported? It is literally called Secrets Management. So if we go to, let's go to our browser, and we look for that, you will see that we've got the information, this will be from Sydney, from the PowerShell team, about using the secret management module. And it's available on GitHub and it's available from the PowerShell gallery. So yeah, literally called Secret Management. Highly recommend that it's something that you make use of. So, any questions? Use Slack, use the question and answer, use the chat, throw me some questions in. Otherwise, we're going to do something cool because what we've got, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I'm going to start doing something cool whilst we're talking then. Nothing else coming through here. Right, so Tony said, what's the best way to schedule a notebook to run every night? Just like this. So we won't save that. We will need to make sure that let's start the service. I can't type standing up. MS SQL Server. And not do my favorite trick of forgetting to start Server Agent. Okay, so we're in Azure Data Studio. This is the Azure Arc enabled data services dashboard views, just out of interest for anybody to see. Let's see, have we got anything open? Oh, as if by magic, I actually happen to have my .NET, my notebooks repository open. So in here we've got let's not do extended events. Let's do audit. So I've got battery level is critical. Okay, that's fine. I'm sure it will last long enough. I hope it will last long enough. We've got a notebook that enables us to get T-SQL permissions. So it's kind of the same thing, but you'll see why we're going to do that. So we've got a notebook. We've got our information. You can see that it's a SQL notebook because it says so here with our kernel, and it says attach it to a connection. So we could connect to an instance and we could run this and it would give us our information, give us our server factor. Let's do it. It will give us our server role. Let's do it against that one. There we go. So we could run this. It's going to give us our information about all of these users, and then it's going to give us the role membership. So pretty much what you've just seen, but slightly done in a different way. So we'll close that. Now what we'll do is we will copy the path to this notebook and then close it. Yeah, we'll save it as well, that's fine. And now we're going to look at our instance. So we were on Beard Desktop, and we're going to right click and click on Manage. And we've got a SQL agent tab here. And up at the top, it says Notebooks. Great. So we're going to Notebooks, and then we'll add this button, a new notebook job. We will paste in the path to our template. Don't ever store the results in temp.db. I'm doing it just so that we can see what's going on. And the execution, so this is the database where our results will be stored. And we're going to run against master because this is the GroupBy logins job. We can do all of the other things. We would pick a schedule. That's how we would do it. We will always put a description, because that is most important. So we created a new job, and within this, we're now going to say, thank you. We're now going to say, there's our job. We'll run that job. Great. The job was successfully started. So whilst it's running, we'll fire into system databases, and we'll look in temp.db. Don't ever put it in temp.db, but it's just so you can see these are the tables that are created. We've got a materialized table. So that shows us how long it took to run, when it was run, and the notebook, which is our results. And we've got our template. Surprisingly enough, that holds our template, links back to our job. This is our default blank notebook. Notebooks are just stored as JSON. The database we're executing in is master, and last time it ran, were there any errors? No. Great. So that's done. It's run. If we look back here, we'll hit refresh. It's recent runs. Yep, there's a green tick. Everything's run. But here's a cool thing. Now I can go double click, and you can see that I've opened a notebook called GroupBy Logins Job, the name of my job, and then a date. And it's got the information, and it's got the results of my schedule, or my not scheduled, but my notebook run. So the question somebody's asked is, what version of SQL Server is this supported in? So the important thing is that you use Azure Data Studio to create and explore the results of these jobs. And it will work with SQL Server 2016 and above. It is possible for it to work with any version of SQL Server. And I did actually write some code that uses DBA tools to enable that. But unfortunately, it's at the client, and I've never had time to do it myself. So there we go. Like I said, I love notebooks. What if SQL Agent isn't available when you go to manage the server? If you don't have SQL Agent, you can't run SQL Agent notebook jobs. Unfortunately, you're going to have to use a different scheduling thing. So you're probably going to use Task Manager. If you use Task Manager, you can't run a notebook natively like this. You can use another PowerShell module whose name escapes me, something like SQL Notebooks, I think, from Aaron Nelson wrote some parts of it, and Doug Fink, I think, actually wrote some of the other parts. They've written some modules that will allow you to run SQL Notebooks like that.